Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy. There's a hair in my face. I'm having one of those days where I keep having songs play in my head, and I'll notice myself start going like this, and I'm like, what am I doing? What are you doing? One of the songs that was playing in my head was by Hannah Montana, Everybody Makes Mistakes. And then the other song that keeps playing in my head is Blueberry Fiego, I think that's what it's called, by Lil Mosey. It's a pretty good song, look it up. So hopefully I'll be able to get through this video without randomly feeling like I need to start dancing. So today's video is on codependency. What is codependency? Why do we become codependent? So codependency is not a mental illness, it is a learned behavior. Codependency happens when you grow up in abusive homes, or when you grow up with parents that are addicts, or they deal with some type of mental illness. Codependency especially happens in homes where you as a child were parentified, meaning you felt like you had to be your parents' parent and take care of them. It happens in homes where you felt like you weren't allowed to be imperfect, so no matter what you did, you felt like it was never good enough. It happens in homes where you were shamed or made to feel guilty for having emotions or just being a normal child. And it happened in homes where you dealt with a lot of gaslighting, where you were always made to feel like you needed to question yourself and your emotions, and you were made to feel crazy. What happens in those homes is you don't feel important, your wants and needs aren't met. You feel like your feelings weren't validated or heard. You're not acknowledged or validated as a child. So in order to cope and compensate with that, you will take care of your parents in order to counteract those feelings of unimportance and of being small. And you may notice yourself feeling better when you take care of your parents in that way. When you took care of your parents or others in that way, it gave you that sense of, oh, I'm loved, I'm wanted. As a child, you need to feel validated. You need to be heard and acknowledged. And you need your parents to help you learn that it's okay to feel the way you're feeling, or it's okay to be who you are, and form that strong sense of self. But in toxic and unhealthy homes, you don't learn that, and you don't get validated or heard or taught how to have that strong sense of self. When we don't have our wants and needs met as a small child, or we feel unimportant, or we feel like we don't matter, it will form a hole in our heart. Obviously, it's not a physical hole. You don't have a heart defect, but it's an emotional hole where you feel empty, you feel a sense of emptiness. You're not validated, you're not loved, you feel like you don't matter. And by taking care of others, you notice that it may fill that hole temporarily, and it makes you feel good temporarily. So you will do things to put your own mental health at risk just to fill that hole. You fill the hole by helping. It's much easier to focus on others than focus on ourselves, because we were taught that we don't matter and we're not important. And you may have noticed that you felt more loved when you were taking care of others or taking care of that parent and enabling them. It gave you a sense of purpose, and that's what you held on to. Now as an adult, your relationships can be very one-sided. You need to be needed, and you don't do anything for yourself, because when you're a codependent, you lose your sense of self and you don't really know who you are. You just identify yourself as the person that gives and helps and people pleases. That's how you have coped and survived all these years. But if someone were to ask you, what do you want and need in your life, you wouldn't be able to answer that, because the only thing you know is how to give until you are drained and you're exhausted. And you may have that confused with, I'm a selfless person. The way you know you are codependent versus you are just someone who is selfless and giving is that as a codependent person, you will give to the point where you are exhausted and you are maybe not in a place where you can help or give. You are mentally unhealthy. A giving person will first make sure they're okay, they're good first, before they can give to somebody else. That's the difference. It's making sure you make yourself a priority first before you give to others. Everyone may notice they deal with some sort of codependency, and I would say it's on a scale of just a little bit to the extreme. Being aware of the codependent traits, it can help you to form better relationships with yourself and with others. So with codependency, you will want to be the fixer. You will feel like the world's on your shoulders. You need to fix every situation. You need to help everybody. You feel responsible for everyone's issues. When you hear something, you take it on and you need to take care of it. And it can get to a point where it can cause you to be really controlling and nagging. Because you can feel out of control since your focus is on everyone else and you give your control away, you will try to control others or situations you don't have control over. Since you are constantly fixing and giving, it can cause you to feel resentful towards others or feel taken advantage of, but you can't stop even if it causes negative emotions. You also may be controlling because you need to be the one that fixes or is the hero to get your fix of feeling validated. So you are constantly focusing on other people and you are giving, even if it affects your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, and even your finances. You may be giving out money left and right to people because you feel like you need to fix things and you need to take care of them. As you may notice, you have trouble setting boundaries. So like I mentioned, you will give, and give. You don't have boundaries and you don't set boundaries because with codependency, it can almost feel addicting because you're getting a high. You're getting high off of fixing things. You're getting high off of needing to be needed. So you won't really set boundaries, or you don't even know maybe that you can set boundaries. You may feel like it's something you have to do because it's something you grew up with. You felt like you had to do it in order to survive, in order to feel validated and loved. You will ignore your own feelings and your own emotions. Going back to your upbringing, you have felt like you weren't allowed to have emotions. You had to repress your emotions for others. Now when you are feeling things, you don't know how to self-soothe or validate your feelings. You may dismiss them, which causes resentment and anger. Communication and trust is something that's really difficult for you. You may notice yourself, if you feel like you need to be straightforward or you need to communicate, you'll back down, or it'll be something that's scary because you were not taught that it was okay. It's okay to communicate and it's okay to have your own wants and needs and it's okay to talk to people about things and ask questions. And it's also hard to trust. You were taught you were taught that you can't trust yourself, you can't trust your parents, you can't trust anybody. So you will feel a lack of trust, and even sometimes to the point of paranoia. And even to the point of paranoia where you just don't feel like anyone has your best interests, and everyone you may feel like is just trying to take from you and nobody actually genuinely cares. This lack of trust for yourself can also cause you to get manipulated easier, as the low self-esteem and lack of trust for yourself opens the doorway for toxic people. You will also notice that you are a perfectionist and you feel like you always need to be perfect at everything you do. You maybe need to show off this perfect self-image, or you need to be a certain way. And if you're not, you're extremely self-critical. You're so hard on yourself. You treat yourself like garbage, and you talk to yourself in ways that you wouldn't even talk to a friend. You also may crave predictability and structure. So as a kid, you didn't have predictability and structure. Everything was just kind of crazy. You didn't feel like you had any type of schedule. It was just always you giving. And so now, as an adult, you may want structure, you may want consistency, you want to know things are certain because you're so exhausted from all the uncertainty. You may notice you're a people pleaser, so you will overly sacrifice yourself. So You will constantly want to make sure that everyone around you is okay. You want to please them. You want to make sure that their wants and needs are met and that they're pleased with you and there's no issues, because you don't want to deal with upsetting anybody. You want to tiptoe around everybody and make sure everybody likes you, because that is, again, it's how you feel validated and how you feel okay with yourself. So saying no is a very hard thing for you. You may want to say no, or maybe you don't even know it's an option to say no, but you feel like you always have to just do and give, otherwise otherwise you yourself will feel extreme guilt and shame, and you will feel like you're doing something wrong or you're a terrible person if you don't do the thing that the person asked, or if you do say no. Because as a kid, your parents were most pleased with you when you did what they wanted, took care of them, fixed things for them, and they were unhappy or made you feel terrible when you didn't do what they wanted, that can cause you to be afraid others will react the same. Your happiness depends on others. So as a child, like we mentioned, with you feeling like you have a hole, you only felt happy if other people were happy, or if other people were validating you, or if you weren't feeling validated from others, or if other people around you weren't happy, you would attach yourself to those emotions and you feel sad and you feel unhappy. You need to be needed. Being needed is your identity. So when you're not needed, you don't know what to do with yourself. You may feel really upset, or you may look for ways that you can be needed. You'll ask if you can do things for others, or you'll overly extend yourself to others because you're so used to being needed that when you're not, you don't know who you are, what's going on, what are you going to do, what do I do with these hands, what. You are unaware of your own needs. You have low self-esteem. You may think like, I know my own needs, but I have a question. If other people didn't exist, if other people didn't benefit from it, would you still do those things for yourself? If the answer is no, then you're not doing anything for yourself. You're doing it for everyone else. When you do things for yourself, it doesn't matter if it benefits others. You're doing it because you matter and you're a priority. When you are unaware of your wants and needs and you don't ask for them, it can make you feel unworthy and unloved. Because remember, fixing and needing to be needed and people pleasing, that is only a temporary solution for a deep-rooted problem. So underneath everything, you're still feeling unloved, you're still feeling uncared for, you're still feeling bad about yourself, especially with the way you talk to yourself. You're really hard on yourself and you're really mean to yourself. You just feel this constant unworthiness and undeserving. You're not even entirely sure what the problem is. You just know that maybe you feel bad and you think, okay, if I help others, it will be okay, it will make me feel better. But it's just this constant cycle of you feeling bad, you going to fix other people, you needing to be needed, you caring for everybody, and then you again feeling bad about yourself. You may be feeling resentful towards people because you feel taken advantage of and you're not aware of your wants and needs. You think that you know your wants and needs, but you actually don't, and you don't ever do anything for yourself. You will always constantly search for some type of validation. So if you are cooking or you're doing something, you will look to see how everyone's reacting. You maybe will tell a joke, you will see how everyone's reacting because you need that validation, because you were not taught how to give your validation to yourself. You need to give yourself that validation. It doesn't matter. Everyone else is the extra. They're the extra validation. You need to be able to validate yourself before you accept other people's validation, because it will be something that you constantly crave. You will always feel like you need their validation to feel okay. But the validation you need the most is the validation for yourself. It's important you give yourself that validation. It's important you set those boundaries. It's important you say no. It's important you lift yourself up and you recognize these behaviors so you don't bring them around you and carry them into your relationships, because it's not fun feeling like you're giving out of an empty wagon, and it's not fun to feel like you don't have your own identity. It's important you have a sense of self, you have those boundaries, you take care of yourself, you make yourself a priority. Because if you don't, then you're always just going to be in this loop of feeling like you need validation from others, or you're not okay unless you give to others. Give to yourself what you need. Determine what your wants and needs are. Acknowledge your feelings. Don't dismiss them. Take care of yourself. Since codependency is behavioral, you can learn to do better and to take care of yourself. Let me know what you guys think. Is codependency something you struggle with? Leave it all in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Bye, guys. I keep having songs play. What? I don't know. Diego. Oh, great. No, the other song's going. Fiesta. I don't know the words to that. It's just a spiral of songs. Songs play. As you may notice, you have a trouble. X.